Over to you, Owais.
Thanks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Lloyds Careers live session. I'm Owais, and not long ago, I was sitting exactly where you guys are, in the middle of a final year, thinking, what on earth comes next?
Hi everyone, I'm Ty. I'm based in Glasgow, and similar to what Owais said, I remember what it was like being in your position, wondering what's next. Well, today we've got what we call Level Up Your Summer, and the whole point of today is to make the months ahead work for you without pretending you need to have everything figured out.
So, before we start, let's warm up the chat. And why don't you tell us where you're joining from? We get people from right across the UK, and it's always good to see where you guys are joining us from. So here's your first opportunity to use the chat.
Edinburgh, London, Boston.
Oh my God, there's so many, it's changing so quickly. That's a
Um,
Hull, that's a Durham, got some northern people, a lot of London.
Ashford,
Is
Kent.
there any Birminghams?
Haven't seen
Coventry,
them.
I see Coventry.
Fantastic. It's good to see the reach that we can get and to see that we're all over the place. So now that everyone's found the chat and everyone looks to be comfortable, we're going to run two quick polls and to get your opinions and thought. So firstly, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about making this summer count towards your future? So 1 is no idea at all. 5, you've got a plan, you've got to execute it, and you're on it. So just remember, no right or wrong answers. Just trying to gauge how everyone's feeling at this point in time. So we've got a mixture there. Majority is in the 3. Okay, that's fair. A few 5s, good stuff. Confidence there, but again, no right or wrong answers. Just trying to gauge where everyone is at this moment in time. Good. I think we'll move on to the next poll. Thanks.
Thanks. It's really good to see those answers. For the second poll, we want to know on a scale of 1 to 5, how in control do you feel about the year ahead? Not how clever you are, not how sorted your plan is, just how in control you feel about what's going to come next.
Have you got the poll up on your side?
Uh, we can
Okay.
go.
Okay, good. Excellent. We've got a mixture of answers. And like I said previously, no right or wrong answers. So later on in the session, we will come back to both of these and to see if anything has changed or shifted. Just before we kick off, quick housekeeping. You can switch on captions whenever you like, and the full event will be recorded and will be on our Lloyds Careers Live YouTube channel tomorrow. So for now, please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
So, the summer. When I was in my final year, I thought summer was a bit where you were meant to land some big official work experience placement. And if you didn't, you'd somehow fallen behind before the year had even started.
Likewise, when I was in the position that you guys currently in, everyone seemed to be talking about placements, work experience, and unfortunately, I didn't have a connection who could sort me out. Sort of felt as if the door was shut before I even had a chance to knock on it.
Which is exactly why we want to start here. Because that idea that it's all about one formal placement is the thing that trips so many of you up. Let's bring in someone who watches that happen every single year.
So, a good person I'd like to reach out to is Ian Brown, who leads our careers and youth engagement skills here at Lloyds. He spent many years watching our final years actually plays out for thousands of young people. So, Ian, if you can hear me, how are you getting on?
I'm good, thank you, and I'm here in our headquarters in London, in 33 Old Broad Street today.
Fantastic. I'm pretty sure the weather's quite nice down there right now.
It's quite warm in London today. It's very warm, yeah.
Good stuff. So thanks for your time, Ian. Just to kick off, so when you talk to students about their final year, what is the biggest pre or misconception you often have to clear up?
I think the big thing for lots of students and what I see at this moment in time is everybody's almost like being in a race and they look to the left and the right and they're going, that person's got that and I haven't. And that person's got that and I haven't. And there's this panic about I'm missing things. And that big thing is, at the moment, the vibe is about that kind of like, did you get that work experience placement? Did you get that that internship? Because that is the conception is that's what employers are actually looking for. And in reality, it is not as cut and dried as that, because what it feels like as a student is that work experience is almost like another hire or another A level, and it's something that employers are going to use as a criteria as to whether they invite you into their recruitment process or not. But actually, it isn't really about getting the certificate at the end of the work experience. What the employers are actually interested in is your experience, which can be gained in lots of different ways, not just through a formal corporate structured work placement.
Yeah,
That's great to hear. It's very important to get a lot out of your work experience. Ian, if someone has no connections and doesn't know where to start, what's the realistic first move this summer?
So I think some of it is about rethinking what do we actually mean by experience, but what is it that employers are actually really looking for? So employers are trying to look for signals. They're not looking for the finished article, because if you come to us as an apprentice, for example, in Lloyds, we're expecting to train you. That is, after all, the point of an apprentice. If you were the finished article, you wouldn't be an apprentice. So I think some of it is about us rethinking how can we send the right signals to employers. So that might be, for example, if you have had a Saturday job somewhere, if you've done volunteering, if you're spending time during the summer, even doing things like an organized litter pick or something that's consistent, that every Monday you went out and cleared this area or this patch of land in your community. All of those sorts of things. It could be caring for family. It could be for some of you are running your own business on the side. We know some of you are doing that quite well. It could be, so what you're doing really, Owais, is you're sending signals to employers. So those signals might be, I can organize things. Here's how I've done it. I can summon up the energy when everybody else is lying in bed during the summer to get up every Monday and go and do this because I want to, not because I'm told to. So all of these things are really helpful signals that you're going to be sending to employers, and that's what employers are looking for. They're looking for the behaviors rather than just a certificate that said, I went to this building, I existed for 2 days, and I have a certificate to show that I existed. Yeah.
definitely. Thank you. And very insightful. I definitely agree with what you're saying there. I guess if someone was to find themselves in a position I find myself where you have no connections and you don't know where to start, what's a realistic first move for this summer?
So you can always still talk to employers. I think sometimes when you're looking for those experiences, often we think of this as being only about the big corporates. And quite often during the summer, you may find that local SMEs, for example, your local law firm, local accountants, etc., may well be able to accommodate you for some kind of experience. Make your ask relatively easy for them to accommodate. Remember that even persuading somebody who's professional to sit down and have a coffee chat with you, even if you don't like coffee, I think it's just like what we call it as grown-ups in there. Even being able to spend some time getting that insight from a professional about, what the qualifications are like, what it's like working in that industry, even that's going to be helpful to you because when you get those questions that'll be asked of you, which is, how much do you know about this role? How much do you know about this sector? Why have you chosen this sector? Even just that coffee chat of being able to say, well, I went to my local firm. I sat down with Ty. Ty told me all about what it's like actually being, in a family accountancy firm. And that kind of really sparked my interest in this. It's all about sending the right signals to employers, not trying to be that finished article in there.
Thank you, Ian. That's really useful. And a good reminder that the summer is a chance to build something, not a test that you can fail.
Definitely, I agree with everything you've said, and coffee chats do definitely come in handy. So, to show everyone that this isn't just theory, I'd like to introduce you all to Becky, who took a non-traditional route and is with us here. Becky, how are you getting on?
Good, thank you. Also feeling the heat down south, but apart from that, fine.
Good stuff. So, if you don't mind, could you kindly share a bit about yourself and how you ended up with Lloyds?
Yes, so when I left school, I went to university and I studied psychology. And then I left and looked for graduate jobs and ended up being a teaching assistant, as that was the only psychology graduate job that was available. Did that for a year and decided I wanted something basically brand new that I'd never done before, wanted to challenge myself. So I applied for an apprenticeship here at Lloyds and I did the level 4 data analyst scheme. And it was something completely new to me and I had no experience. As Ian said, I was trained in it, and I passed, I got a merit, and from then I got promoted into the role I'm in now, which is in savings products. So I'm looking at things like savings education, educating our customers on how they can start saving with us.
Good stuff. So, if you don't mind me asking, walking down memory lane, could you take us back to your own final year and what your summer actually looked like?
Yeah, so obviously I was aware that year 13 was like where it starts to get serious. So I made sure to have the right balance. I had downtime, I went on holiday, saw my friends, but also I wanted to balance that with reflecting on what I wanted my next year to look like. So obviously I knew I wanted to go to uni, so it was sort of thinking about what things I could include in my personal statement. I knew that going back into year 13, that was sort of what the first couple of weeks would be about. So I sort of was able to pass that to a teacher to have a look at, and then I was able to just submit and focus on studying. So I think I was prepared, and yeah, I'd like to think it wasn't too much pressure because I knew I had like the support of teachers and things like that when I went back, but just making sure I had all the resources I need to prepare me for that year coming up.
That's great to hear. So, did you do any formal work experience or did you find another way in?
I did, yeah. I did a week of work experience with a family member, but I would say that that's sort of not what got me into my role now. It's more like the soft skills I learned from my Saturday job. So I worked in retail, and things like I feel like as a school student, you don't really have that communication with like the public. So being in a workplace environment, I learned how to communicate, I learned listening skills, teamwork, and they're all things that employers still value. So as much as I did have work experience, I think I learned much more value from actually interacting with customers and problem solving and things like that. And it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And that's something like that I take with me now, still pushing myself out of my comfort zone here at Lloyd's.
Yeah, definitely. The soft skills are just as important as the hard ones. So Ian touched on it, but in your own words, was there a point where you worried you were behind because others had placements or internships or anything?
Yeah, so I think for me, a lot of my friends were like half and half. A lot of people were doing apprenticeships back then, and a lot of people were going to uni. I sort of didn't want to follow the crowd as such. I felt like uni was the right thing for me at that time, but in hindsight, I'd probably say, was I going to uni because it felt like the easier thing of not having to go straight into the workplace? Was I a bit hesitant? But I do think it was the right thing because it's got me to where I am now, and it didn't stop me applying for an apprenticeship. I think the confusion sometimes comes from, oh, I'm a graduate, so why would I do an apprenticeship? But it's still just as valuable, and there's the opportunity to go into a level 6 as well. So my perspective is you can do both, and looking back, I wouldn't change it, but seeing friends do apprenticeships, I did think, oh, I wonder what that could be like. So I've got a chance to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, good stuff. And it's always nice to hear from someone who's actually walked that path, right? And it's not always a linear path, but definitely the path that you're on counts. So it's important to do that.
Yeah.
So picture this, summer's over and you're now in your final year. For me, the final year in high school came with everything, right? Came with exams, applications, and all the big decisions about my future that I had to make in a small space of time.
And the bit that nobody really says out loud is how much things pile up and get in your head. It isn't that you're not capable, it's that you're carrying a lot at the same time. Ian, this is where you see people struggle, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and look, I've lived through this. I was at an event today in central London and recalling this with students of watching my own son go through year 13 during this last year. So I feel like I've lived this entire experience with him as well. And yeah, year 13, I think or S6 if you're joining us from Scotland, that it's a big year, but once September or August again, if you're in Scotland, once that starts, it's like the roller coaster, right? You go up, and then once it goes, and there's no real stopping it.
So yeah, final year piles, exams, applications, and big decisions all in the same small window. What does that pressure do to the young people that you work with?
So some of the things that we see, which I think doesn't really help, is a sense of scarcity and panic in there. So I've said before, I think one of the things which I do see is that students feel like they're in a race with the person to the left and to the right of them. So they're constantly looking to the left and the right. But the reality is that your path is not going to be the same as the person on the left and the right anyway. So there's some bit here about trying to calm yourself down of somebody is going to get that university offer before you. That's fine. Yours will come. Somebody is going to be invited to an assessment centre with an apprenticeship before you. That's fine. Your time will come. Some of it's about relaxing into that process. It's about being organised and structured, but also being quite strategic about it so that you don't take on so much that the really big thing that you also need to do, which is actually nail those exam results, because everybody will want those things in there. They don't get compromised in the pursuit of just trying to do everything in there. And you hear these stories at the moment, Owais, and they bother me quite a bit actually, and see a lot in LinkedIn of people saying, I made 100 apprenticeship applications, 200 apprenticeship applications, and volume is not going to allow you to create quality. And if the applications don't have quality, they're very instantly going to find themselves on the wrong side of which ones get through and which ones don't. So some of it's about being really strategic and thoughtful and actually being comfortable in letting certain opportunities go because they're not exactly right for you.
Yeah, definitely agree. Quality over quantity all the time. So what are the most common traps that you see capable students fall into during their final year?
So some of it, so one would be not understanding the timing and sequence of how everything works in there. And that's why this broadcast today is really important, right? Because imagine if we were starting to tell you this in October, how annoying might it be if somebody said, well, do you know what? A month ago, you should have started to do that. So this is why we do it at this time of the year. So it's about understanding the sequence of things. You can already map this out now. Okay, because we can predict. My colleague Sharon is manning the chat, so if I get any of this wrong, she'll tell you in the chat her opinion in there. Deeply more experienced than me. The big companies will start to. Oh, the lights went off in my room. The big companies will start to advertise their apprenticeship vacancies normally from around about the end of September and into October. So there will be a flurry of apprenticeship applications. And if you're interested in those kind of like the big four and the banks and whatever, you kind of want to be ready in August because you know that that's going to happen in there. After that, apprenticeships will start to settle down a bit, and those opportunities will come bit by bit by bit, but they will come every month. But also in October, unless you're applying to some of the competitive applications, October will be the time when you're trying to nail UCAS and make sure you've got that one right. Then you can start focusing on your mock exams and trial exams, keep your apprenticeships running along the way, and then you get your exams done. About that time, you'll start to see the first part of your university offers coming through. I'll stand up in a moment and the lights will come back on. So your UCAS offers will start to translate. And around about that time will also be when, if you're successful in those initial applications you've made for apprenticeships, you'll start to see assessment centres coming through. Those assessment centres are going to take some time. So this is the bit where you need to be careful about how many things you apply to. Because if every assessment centre, if every application asks you to go and do a set of online exams and study for those, and they take 4 hours, and then if every assessment centre takes a whole day, how many of those can you reasonably sustain and keep your exams on track as well? So you know this information now. You can use the summer to be able to do the maths and understand what level of workload and investment into apprenticeships feels reasonable to you alongside your academic studies. But no employer is going to forgive you on failing on those academic demands because you were busy doing apprenticeship applications. And that's the tough bit in there.
Yeah, that's a lot of good information. And something you said earlier about, you often say about students harming themselves by applying for too much rather than too little. Can you unpack that and give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things, and if you missed last month's Careers Live, do go back to it. It's in the YouTube channel. We were looking at how to use AI in your application search, and one of the things there, which we're not going to kind of go over all of those details because you can go back and watch that video. But one of the things that we were looking at last month was how you can use your AI agent, ones that you can train yourself, to be able to be really strategic with you. So let's say you subscribe, and you can do this now, start subscribing to the usual feeds of where apprenticeship vacancies are going to come from. So, the government website in there, Indeed, and various other sub-sites in there. UCAS will have some. I know it's super frustrating because you can't go to one site and find everything in there. I don't know when somebody will fix that, but maybe somebody will at some point in time. But you can use the insight that you have fed into your agent to be able to be strategic. You can say, I've surfaced these vacancies this week against my backlog and against my desire to only apply to make 3 applications a week, 2 applications a week, 1, whatever it is. Don't mind, I'm not saying what the right number is, which am I best suited to? Where am I the closest match? Do that one. And then if you do feel like you've got more time because the geography tutor was nice this week and decided not to set you any homework, so that's given you an evening free, then go to your second one in there. But it's just having that plan, being strategic, knowing what your limits are, but also being really discerning about what you choose to go for.
Thanks, Ian. Some really good advice. So Ian has mentioned the nerves, and we want to leave you tonight with one simple thing you can use when they hit. It's a 60-second reset, and we use it. You can use it before an exam, before an interview, before you press submit on an application. Does anyone want to, from the panel?
Do you want me to take you through this? Should we do all this together in there? Are we ready for this?
After you, yeah.
I might have to just turn the lights back on a second because they just go off when I don't. There you go. See, I now look like the holy white figure in there. Okay, so I use this a lot, and then we've done this one as well with the team, because there are certain points in time where you just look at the emails flying in and there's stuff going on all over the place, and you just go, the temptation is just to close the laptop lid and just say, I can't do this. And I'll end up going to university because I just can't cope with this. And that's, there are lots of brilliant reasons for going to university, but that would be not the most brilliant reason for going. All right. So if you feel really comfortable, then you can close your eyes. If you're not super comfortable with doing that, it doesn't matter. Just kind of like stare into space, but just a nice soft gaze. And then if you're able to, take the finger of one hand and then place that against the center of your other hand, and then take it out to the outside. And then as you listen to my voice, just start to trace a circle around the outside of your hand. And as you're doing that, you can just notice and feel little bumps and grooves and how the inside of your hand is just different and not smooth. And as you move that finger round in a circle again, if you feel really lightly with your finger, notice that it's almost like a little electric charge. The fingertip touches the inside. There's so many nerves inside your hand that's creating that current. And don't forget to breathe as you go round in that circle, and then gently bring that circle back round. So it will start going a little bit faster as it gets towards the middle, and when it's reached that middle point, one deep breath in, one deep breath out, one more deep breath in, really inflate, one deep breath out, and then release. And then you're back to it. There you go.
Back in the driving seat. And yeah, if you want to try that again, the recording will be up if you want to practice again. Thanks, Ian.
Okay, so let's bring in someone who came through the exact pressure and has come out the other side and can tell you what the next step actually felt like. So welcome, Hadia.
Hello.
Do you want to give a quick introduction of who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Hadia. I am a HR apprentice. I'm in my final year, and my qualification is a CIPD Level 5 People Professional. It's not quite degree level, it's like a foundation degree. So you do only need your GCSE Maths and English to do this, which is perfect for if you want to do it after your A-levels or after your GCSEs.
Nice. Okay, so think back to your final year. What was the hardest part of carrying it all at once?
It just felt like there was a lot of pressure. I remember in college, the teachers, you get less support than you do in high school. It's a lot less hand-holding. It's more just you need to be able to manage your own schedules, your own timing, and things like that. And it seems like everyone around you is going at a different pace, and everyone seems to have some sort of plan of what they want to do and have their life together. And I just felt like I kind of vaguely know what I want to do, and then I ended up doing something completely different, which surprised me in the end as well, because I wanted to be a vet and here I am. So it just goes to show, like, the unexpected can happen, and just keep your mind open, keep your options open. But when you're actually in the moment, it's so hard when you feel like that pressure on your shoulders, especially if you have like friends, family, my parents especially, being South Asian, that pressure that they put on you to get a degree is insane.
Yeah, so just kind of fast forwarding after the application stage, perhaps when you started your career at Lloyds, was there anything you were dreading that turned out to be fine, or anything that surprised you?
I think your internet just went out for a bit, but I heard anything I was dreading that turned out to be fine. So is that my internet or your internet? I can't tell.
No,
I think it was Ty's.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it was Ty's internet. Last time it was mine anyway, so it was going to be.
There's always one.
This is just to prove that it's live.
Yeah, I'll pick up where Ty left off. So, did you ever feel like everyone around you had it all figured out and you didn't?
Yeah. Honestly, there were people who knew exactly what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go. They had a plan set out to get there. Like they were going to go do this work experience. They were going to like shadow this person. At work, they worked at a part-time job and things like that. And I felt like I was behind because I was volunteering at stables every Saturday, just chilling. wasn't. So, but I did, like, looking back on it now, I did actually gain a lot of work experience from that volunteering, because even though I was working with horses, I was also working with disabled children. I learned teamwork, I learned patience, resilience, collaboration, all those soft skills that doesn't necessarily relate to the field I came into, which is HR, but they have definitely started my career and helped me develop to the person I am now. I think going back to Tay's question, the one thing I dreaded when starting at Lloyd's, I thought it was all just going to be go, go, go from the start. You're just going to have people having so much pressure and expectation on you to be able to do the role perfectly. And it wasn't that at all. Coming in as an apprentice, people know you're new. They know that this is probably your first job or first job in a corporate setting. Even if it's not, it's still a new business. And I really underestimated the level of support I would get from my manager, from my colleagues, and things like that. And it was just a really nice environment to be able to set into and take my time to get to know the people around me before they start throwing all this work at me. But I'm definitely more confident and capable and adaptable now than I was when I first joined. And those are just things that you pick up naturally in the role. So there's no pressure to be this perfect person when you first start the role. It's about becoming that person as you go on.
Definitely, I can resonate with so much of what you've just said there. I think we've got one more question for you. Was there a moment you wanted to give up, or a knockback that you had to get past? And if there were, what kept you going?
I think when I first started, I definitely had that imposter syndrome of, am I supposed to be here? Am I good enough to be here? And then it's just as soon as you settle in, sometimes you get that one piece of feedback that just sets you back and makes you reevaluate everything, because it's like, I thought I was doing okay, turns out I've done this wrong. And the important thing is to take that feedback and use it to grow instead of mulling over it and going into that spiral of, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be here. And just grow from it in that way, because not every person is out to get you, not every feedback is to drag you down. It's there to help you improve and get better. And I just really had to not let it knock my confidence to a point where I wanted to give up, because I went through the assessment center, I went through the initial job training, and I was still there and people still liked me somehow. So it was good, and I just needed to remember that.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good advice there. That not every setback is something that should distance you from trying to reach your goal. Thank you. Do we have Tay back, or should we keep going? Ty, are you there?
Nope. Has he disappeared from you?
That's okay. That's the knockback that he had, and hopefully his Wi-Fi helps him come back to us. Okay, thank you, Hadia. That's the honest picture, and the hard bit, and the bit that turned out to be okay in the end.
Owais, if it helps, whilst we're just waiting for his line to go, Sharon is working really busily, and I think we're doing all right on time actually at the moment, aren't we? So Sharon's doing like sterling work in trying to answer questions, but we could check in with Sharon in terms of if there are kind of common things that are coming in, and I can answer a few things that I can see that are in the Q&As as well. Earth calling Sharon, are we all right to tap into you in case there are kind of like common themes that you're seeing coming through? Because I can see you've answered 162 questions according to this. Oh, I can't hear you on mute.
It's because I've done that. That's fine.
Yeah.
If I come off now, I'm going to get questions. So yeah, lots of themes coming through. Lots of people asking specifics about where they can find out more about Lloyds Banking Group apprenticeships. So I've popped in there a link to lots of them, which is the Lloyds Banking Group talent site, where you'll find out about lots of next gen talent activities. So that could be our apprenticeship programs, or you might be thinking further ahead to our grad programs, our industrial placements, things like that. So go and have a little look on that site. lots of questions about work experience and the value of work experience. So I've shared the connector link as well, so you can have a little look on that, so if that's something that would interest you. And lots of people, and Michelle, I'll probably let you answer this one, asking about when they'll get their certificate and does this count as work experience. So I'll come to you in a second, because I think it does, but I'm sure, Michelle, you'll confirm. And then very generally, people asking about what strengths, what qualifications, and I've mentioned a few times in the answers there around the fact that we recruit on strength. So there's not a specific skill that we're looking for. There may be a specific UCAS entry point for a degree apprenticeship, which you would expect because you would be going off to do a degree level qualification. But it's about you. We're interested in you as a person and showing the strengths and values that we have in our organisation. So if Lloyds is somewhere that you really want to join, we would really strongly suggest that you do your research, that you find out to see if we are a good organisational fit for you and your values as well. But Michelle, are you on to answer I've had quite a few questions about, will I get a certificate and does this count as work experience? Is that all right? Can I hand to you?
Of course, thank you, Sharon. And can I just say that the whole session it's great. Like, I've been reading all the comments on Instagram and the students are finding it extremely useful. I think more than anything, you're putting people's mind at ease, which is great to see. But yes, you will be getting a certificate. I'm going to share the link at the end of the session, so around 6 o'clock. I'll pop it in the webinar chat. If you aren't able to grab it, don't worry, I'll send you a follow-up email with the certificate as well. Now, the certificate link is a form. You'll just pop your name in there that you want to see on your certificate, the email address that you want your certificate sent to. By all means, you can print it out. But you can also post it on things like LinkedIn. If you're old enough to have LinkedIn, you can post it on LinkedIn. Some students do, and they do a really lovely write-up and tag some of the people that have been speaking, and we love to see it. It's not necessarily work experience, it's more, it's a webinar where you're getting information, but you can certainly add it to your CV or your applications and state that you joined, what you learned, what you took away, the actions that you put in place after attending tonight's session. And I'm sure if you get the opportunity to speak to someone in an interview, or put that into your application, people at Lloyds are going to love to be able to see that you joined the Careers Live session. I'm sure it will go in your favour if you stated that you joined Careers Live and state what you've taken away and what you've learned. So yeah, I'll send the certificate link round at the end, but I do just want to say thank you so much to everybody that's been speaking. The students are saying on Instagram that, they do really appreciate that it's more about you as a person, your qualities, your skills that you've learned, rather than everything that the teachers are actually telling them. They're saying that in the comments as well. Teachers are putting a lot of emphasis on work experience, and some students are saying it's nice to know that having part-time jobs helps as well. So
Yes.
thank you so much, everyone. It's really beneficial for the students.
Yeah, well, we're not quite done yet because we've still got a little bit more content to go through, but just covering off a few more really common questions that I can see in there at the moment. And Sharon, you'll correct me if I get anything wrong on these, because you are definitely much more the apprenticeship expert. So do I need to have studied specific A levels to get an apprenticeship? So generally for Lloyds, no. There are a few in there. If we break that rule, you'll see it really clearly in the job advert. It will tend to be ones that really require maths, because that is the nature of the job. So if you don't like maths, you probably wouldn't really like that job anyway. But the job advert will very clearly tell you what is required in there. I appreciate I'm talking in England and Wales and Northern Ireland. Here in Scotland, your qualification will be slightly different. In terms of, there are other questions in there. There's lots of variants. For example, what if I'm studying biology? So look, my answer to that one is, don't just tell us you studied biology. Think about the skills that you are developing through that A level that you're studying, because I'm going to show my terrible knowledge of biology now. But we may not understand very much of what you've learned about genome sequencing in biology. but we will respect the fact that you're able to set up tests, experiment, you can research, you can write a report on research that you've carried out. And that applies to all subjects. So I think you don't anticipate that employers automatically know, just because you say I've studied geography, everything that is contained within that curriculum, because they probably won't. So you will have to spoon feed them on the relevant bits of skills that you've developed through that study in there. Sharon, grades were being asked often as well. I believe at the moment it's BCC and A level tones.
So my advice is always to look at the program that you are specifically interested in. So, degree apprenticeships will want grades at A level, but some of our apprenticeships aren't. So Hadia, for example, is doing a level 5. So the requirements for that may be a GCSE in maths and English. So it can differ. So I always say, have a look at the program that you're interested, have a look at the requirements specific to that program.
Yeah, and just on that point, for those of you studying qualifications like BTECs, T-levels, we love T-levels, they're all fine as well. We know exactly how to work out the equivalence of all of those things, so that's fine. We will take care of it. And there are some questions around what can we actually study if we've already studied these things before. So Sharon, again, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. So generally there's a lot of latitude in apprenticeships for what you can actually do. But one of the key things that you can't do with an apprenticeship is you can't go and do an apprenticeship in a subject that you already have a superior qualification for. So for example, if you go and do a degree in X subject, and the majority of your apprenticeship is going to be an overlap with what you've already done in your degree, then that's a no.
That's right. So if you came to us with a finance degree and you wanted to do a finance apprenticeship, you would then be overqualified.
Yeah. And I'm trying to turn the lights back on again because they've just turned off on me. I think that's probably it. And just on Michelle's point, and then I'll hand back to Owais for the rest of the script in there. Is this work experience that we're doing tonight? No. But what it is doing is helping you demonstrate your research into the topics. You absolutely can and should reference, not just to Lloyds, but to other employers, how much research you put in, because they will want to know. Because brutally, they're going to bank a lot of money and time on you. You get the likes of the lovely Sharon looking after you on program, and she doesn't come cheap. So, they want to know that if you're going to go on an apprenticeship program, that you know what you're doing and why you're there. So information sessions like we have this evening, absolutely use this as part of your building the case, because what you're doing is showing them that you've really thought this one through, that you know what you're doing. Again, it's all about sending the right signals. Right, I think we have Ty back online, and we're about there on time. So Owais, Ty, I'm not exactly sure where we are in the script now, but I'll hand back over to you.
Ty, you there?
Yeah, here.
Nice.
So stepping beyond, is that okay?
Yes, that's where we are.
So stepping beyond, and apologies about the technical issues I was facing. So we've spoken about summer and the final year, and we want to finish on a point where this is all pointing at, the step beyond work and training. And we want to address the biggest and the heaviest myth, where you have to be the finished article before anyone will take you on.
Yeah, you really don't. Ian, career ready, that term gets thrown around a lot. What does it actually mean, though?
Yeah, and it's really hard, isn't it? And you read lots of articles on LinkedIn with grown-ups just like me who will be saying the thing is young people are not career ready, and the issue here is that we start to believe these things and then we don't really understand it, and then we choose not to apply in there. And I think for me with career ready, what you're really looking for as an employer is that somebody is actually ready to start moving into the world of work. And look, this isn't going to be right for everybody at age 18. You may have decided that actually extra couple of years in university is going to be right for you. Nothing wrong with that. It's not our role to judge or to steer you in that way. But if you are going to go into the world of work, then career ready does mean that if your employer says we start at 8:30 every day, that means 8:30 every day, not 10:30 because I've had a late night with my friends. And these things matter because they choose to pay you or don't pay you if you don't want to work for them. But career ready is also things that you can do during the summer about practicing things like your business communication, understanding how you might choose to talk to people with more business language than maybe the language that you might use in chat messages with your mates. And these days and this year, and stuff that we can tell you that we wouldn't have been able to last year, of course, is this is where AI can really help you, because you can say, I want to kind of improve my skills in business communication, and it can construct some tests and models for you to help coach you in how to just use language which is more akin to what we would be doing within the business world than maybe like some of the messages that I see my son sending back and forth to his mates, most of which I don't understand, and I suggest that's probably the better way for me as well as his dad. I remain in the don't understand it phase.
And for someone who feels nervous about not being good enough yet, what do you want them to know?
Just do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. Because you can't know about not being good enough. And I would reframe it and say, that's actually not your decision to make. That's somebody else's. And I'd spent a lot of time with students today, and we were talking about the analogy we were using were jigsaw puzzle pieces, right? Each of us is a unique person. There is nobody here on the hundreds who are on the call here today who was born at exactly the same time as somebody else, in the same place as somebody else, who had exactly the same family, schooling, housing, location, hobbies, interests, likes and dislikes. And you have 18 years of all of that uniqueness to be able to tap into. So in your jigsaw puzzle piece, that is yours and it's yours alone, nobody else's. And all you're looking for is an organization that goes, do you know what? That jigsaw puzzle piece matches into what we're looking for right now. Doesn't matter. It's their choice. You be you, be the best version of you. Let them make the decision.
Yeah, that's some really good information and advice. So let's make the route concrete, because there are more than people think. Apprenticeships at Lloyds open from school to after university, or as a career changer later in life. The grade requirements vary, and they're set out in each advert. So hopefully that answers quite a few people's questions. Our 2026 entry roles are expected to open in early October, with assessments running into January, and those roles start the following September. So again, hopefully answers a lot of the Q&A questions that Sharon's done a great job of.
We lost Ty's line again.
We lost
Owais.
Ty again. Well,
Yeah.
one tool that's worth a mention, because we've covered it on a previous show, if you guys have been watching, you can use AI as a kind of personal coach while you prepare. We've touched on that a little bit today. Don't get it to write your application for you, but use it as a tool to help you practice interviews, to get feedback from what you've written in applications, and to keep learning as you go along. If it's used well, it's like a study partner or an extra tutor, or we touched on people who don't have connections in the industry. It totally replaces that, and it totally helps with that as well, helping you gain a new perspective. And it never gets tired. You can ask it as many questions. I do in my work as well, the same questions I over and over again. And that episode is on our YouTube channel. So if you want more details into how using AI, you can find that where you can find this one.
Yeah, it's a really good one actually. Ty's still struggling to get back on this, but we ran that last time Hadia was on it. I loved creating that session because it's all brand new to us as well, right? And we will run the AI session again, and I've no doubt the next time we run it, we're going to have to research it entirely brand new because every trick and tool that's available to you is changing so fast.
Yeah, definitely. It's changing at a super rate. A quick word for anyone heading into university or already in their final year at uni. The same principle of what we're talking about holds true. Internships tend to open in the autumn just before your final year, and grad schemes follow after uni. So start building the portfolio, start living the portfolio now, and you'll walk into all of it with materials that will take you wherever you want to go.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to help you out here because you've got all the scripting to do on your own, haven't you? Totally down there. So before we wrap up, then let's look at those 2 polls from the start. So first, again, Michelle, if we're able to get those on a scale of 1 to 5, I want to see how confident you feel about making the summer count towards your future. Let's see if we've got those in there. I've got a tiny screen, so I'm like going to struggle on this one. But to me, Owais, that looks like that bar in number 4 has moved a lot.
Yeah, the polls aren't showing up on my screen, but
Okay, so I've got like
If you guys want me to help out, I can see that we've got a lot of 4s now. Less 1s and 2s, a few 3s still, but the majority is sitting at 4, which is a big improvement.
So that sounds like we've been covering the right territory
yeah,
then, haven't we?
definitely.
As well in there, which is great. So we've got a second one in there. And how in control do you feel about the year ahead in there? Hadia, you can see these numbers, can't you?
Yeah. Again, we're looking at a majority 4s at the moment, which is very good.
And it feels fine, doesn't it? Because you don't know what you don't know. So I can understand why people are, maybe reluctant on this one to go, it's a 5. But anyway.
Yeah. It's really good to see and hear all of those moves in the polls from before to now. So if you take one practical step after tonight, make it this one. Register with Connector. It's where work experience places, new placement, new opportunities, and events get listed first. And it's how you stay on the front of the line, sorry. We'll put that link in the chat.
Yeah, we will. And also just to say, look, if you join us on Connector, you'll be some of the first to know. So our mentors are on there. Every time we launch work experience, you'll be notified of everything in there. When the vacancies are there, you'll be there. So it costs you nothing to be in there. It definitely the way that we can help you instead of you constantly having to look to see what's Lloyd's doing next as well. And then we're going to talk about LinkedIn, which I'm on all the time.
Yeah. We love seeing your posts every year when new apprentices and interns and grads are applying. We always see the posts. We love seeing those posts at the next gen team at Lloyd's, talking about careers live on LinkedIn. So if tonight has helped you and you've told us it's helped you, then please do tag us. It genuinely shapes how we build these series for the next years and years to come.
Yeah, and we use all of that insight to help us tell us what we do next in Careers Live. But that's a wrap on this season. Amazingly, we've got to the end of season 4 for Careers Live. We're taking August off now whilst we put together a brand new lineup of presenters. And I already know what the topics are for season 5, and it's an amazing season yet to come. So we will see you on the second week of September, giving you time to settle back into school.
Yes. So it's goodbye from this season's host. Whatever your summer looks like, you don't need the whole plan. You just need to start. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Take care, and we will see you in September.
Over to you, Michelle.